I'm Katherine, 28, a recent MBA graduate with big dreams of breaking into the marketing world at prestigious firms in Chicago. Landing my dream job at Horizon Media felt like the culmination of years of hard work and sacrifice. Then came that call from the hiring manager. Your mother contacted us and declined the job on your behalf. My controlling mother had crossed the ultimate line, but she had no idea what was coming. If you're watching this, please like and subscribe and let me know where you're viewing from. Trust me, you'll want to hear how I finally fought back against the woman who tried to hijack my future. Growing up in a middle-class neighborhood in Milwaukee shaped much of who I am today. My mother Amanda was only 19 when she got pregnant with me, forcing her to abandon her own ambitious career plans and settle for an administrative role at Midwestern Insurance. That decision became the foundation for everything that followed in our complicated relationship. From my earliest memories, my mother was determined that I would achieve everything she couldn't. By age 5, I was enrolled in ballet piano lessons and junior math competitions. It wasn't about whether I enjoyed these activities. It was about building my resume from kindergarten. When I showed talent in art drawing colorful landscapes that my elementary teachers praised, my mother dismissed it as a nice hobby, but nothing that would put food on the table. Catherine, you need to focus on things that will get you somewhere in life, she would say while tearing down my artwork and replacing it with multiplication tables and vocabulary lists. Art is for people who don't have what it takes to succeed in the real world. My academic choices were never truly mine. In high school, I wanted to take creative writing as an elective, but she insisted on additional business courses. When college application season arrived, she dictated which universities I applied to, all prestigious business schools within driving distance of Milwaukee. The applications were practically filled out in her handwriting, with personal essays reflecting her vision for my future rather than my own. Trust me, Catherine, she would say. I know what recruiters are looking for. I work with successful people every day at the company. What hurt most was watching my friends pursue their passions, while I pursued my mother's dreams. During freshman year of college, I was offered an incredible opportunity to study art history abroad in Florence. When I called home excited to share the news, my mother immediately shut it down. Absolutely not. I've arranged an internship for you at Johnson Financial. It's perfect for your resume, and the CEO's son will be interning there too. Networking, Catherine. That's how the world works. The control extended beyond my education. She kept copies of my keys, showed up unannounced at my dorm room, and somehow always seemed to know my passwords. Once I changed my Facebook password after finding her commenting on my friend's post pretending to be me. Within days, she called asking about a study group invitation I had only received through a private Facebook message. The world is dangerous, Catherine, she would explain. I'm just looking out for you. My father, Thomas, a kind but passive man who worked in accounting, never stood up to her. He would pull me aside after particularly intense arguments with my mother and whisper, "She just wants what's best for you. It's easier if you just go along with it." His enabling behavior only reinforced her control. When my sister Jessica was born when I was 4, I hoped having another child might divert some of my mother's intense focus. For a while it seemed that way, but as soon as I moved out for college, Jessica became the new project. When by the time Jessica turned 24, she was working as an administrative assistant at the same insurance company as our mother, being groomed for advancement through the ranks. Jessica understands the value of following a proven path, my mother would say during holiday gatherings, her arm wrapped possessively around my sister's shoulders. She's already making connections that will serve her for life. The subtle comparison was never lost on me, nor was the look of quiet resignation in my sister's eyes. After completing my MBA, I felt a glimmer of hope. I had my own apartment in Chicago, 40 minutes from my parents, but far enough to establish some independence. I changed my passwords regularly, kept my spare key with my best friend Taylor instead of family, and tried to establish clear boundaries during our weekly phone calls. Mom, I appreciate your concern, but I need to make my own decisions now. I would say, practicing phrases my therapist had suggested. Of course you do, sweetheart, she would reply, before immediately launching into advice about job hunting strategies or suggesting connections she could leverage for me. I was determined that my postgraduate career would finally be my own. Little did I know how severely that resolve would be tested. My post-MBA job search was brutal. Over 3 months, I submitted applications to 47 companies, tailoring each cover letter, and resumed to showcase how my skills aligned with their specific needs. I created spreadsheets tracking application statuses, follow-up emails, and contact information. This was my future, and I approached it with methodical determination. The rejections came in waves, sometimes formal emails thanking me for my interest, but selecting other candidates whose qualifications better match their current needs. Often just silence my applications disappearing into the void without even the courtesy of acknowledgement. Each passing week without positive news chipped away at my confidence. Maybe Mom was right, I whispered to Taylor during one particularly low evening, empty wine glasses and takeout containers scattered across my living room floor. Maybe I should have networked more or chosen different specializations. Taylor shook her head firmly. Don't you dare. You're brilliant, Katherine. The right company will see that. Then came the email from Horizon Media, a top-tier marketing firm with offices overlooking Lake Michigan. Their client list included Fortune 500 companies and cutting-edge startups. Just scoring an interview there would be a win. The initial phone screening with their HR representative went surprisingly well. I found myself relaxing into the conversation, discussing case studies from my graduate program and my thoughts on emerging digital marketing trends. When she invited me for an in-person interview with the team, I spent 3 days researching the company, practicing responses in the mirror, and selecting the perfect interview outfit, professional, but with a creative edge appropriate for a marketing environment. The first round was with Mark Donovan, the hiring manager, and 2 team leaders. The second round involved a practical assessment where I had to analyze a failed campaign and propose solutions. For the final round, I presented a mock campaign to the department director and senior leadership team, my hands trembling slightly, but my voice steady as I walked them through my strategy. 2 agonizing weeks passed before my phone rang with an unfamiliar number. Katherine, this is Mark Donovan from Horizon. We'd like to offer you the position of junior marketing strategist. The salary, $78,000 annually with benefits, was life-changing compared to my part-time barista job that had helped me survive graduate school. But even more valuable was the opportunity itself, a creative team environment, potential for growth, and projects that would challenge me intellectually. During the interview process, I'd connected with the team members, finding them supportive and passionate about their work. That Friday afternoon, I received the official offer letter via email outlining the position details, compensation package, and requesting a response by the following Wednesday. I printed the letter, reading it repeatedly, allowing myself to truly believe this was happening. I called Taylor immediately and she insisted on celebrating. We dressed up and splurged on dinner at Salvatore's, an upscale Italian restaurant we normally couldn't afford. Over pasta and champagne, I dreamed aloud about finally replacing my worn-out professional wardrobe, upgrading from my futon to a real bed, and maybe even taking a small vacation before starting the position. You earned this, Katherine, Taylor said, raising her glass. This is all you. Later that evening, slightly tipsy and overwhelmingly happy, I called my father to share the news. That's wonderful, sweetheart, he said, his voice genuinely warm. Then came the hesitation I should have recognized as a warning. Have you told your mother yet? Not yet. I wanted to savor it myself first. Maybe you should tell her in person, he suggested. You know how she is about these things. I noticed 3 missed calls from my mother that weekend, but decided to wait until Monday to share my news in person. I wanted to see her face to make her acknowledge my accomplishment on my terms. It was a small act of independence that would cost me dearly. Monday morning dawned bright with possibility. I had just poured my coffee when my phone lit up with an unfamiliar number. Recognizing the area code as downtown Chicago, I answered professionally, assuming it might be HR from Horizon with onboarding details. Katherine Marshall. This is Mark Donovan from Horizon Media. Good morning, Mark, I replied cheerfully. I was actually planning to send my formal acceptance today. The uncomfortable silence that followed sent a chill through me. Katherine, that's actually why I'm calling. We received communication over the weekend regarding the position. His voice was carefully neutral. Your mother contacted us on Saturday. She identified herself as your career manager and informed us you'd received a better offer elsewhere. The mug slipped from my hand, shattering on the kitchen tile. My mother did what? She declined the position on your behalf, Mark continued. She was quite insistent that the compensation package was inadequate for someone with your qualifications. I couldn't breathe. The room seemed to tilt sideways as Mark's words hung in the air between us. There's something else. He added, his discomfort palpable even through the phone. She suggested we consider her other daughter, Jessica, I believe, claiming she was more qualified and committed to a long-term position with our company. My legs gave out and I sank to the floor amid the scattered ceramic shards and spreading coffee puddle. Markham, I didn't, this wasn't me. I gathered something might be amiss. Your reaction confirms it. He paused. Katherine, I've been in HR for 15 years. Family complications can spill into professional environments in problematic ways. Please, I whispered, my voice breaking. This is my dream job. My mother has no authority to speak for me. I never authorized this. After what felt like an eternity, Mark spoke again. I can put things on hold for 24 hours while you sort this out, but I need your definitive answer by tomorrow morning. We have other qualified candidates waiting. My hand shook as I ended the call. Immediately, I dialed my mother. No answer. I tried twice more before grabbing my keys and driving to my parents' house, my mind cycling through confusion, disbelief, and rage. I found her in the kitchen, calmly drinking tea and scrolling through her tablet. When she looked up and saw my expression, a small smile played at the corners of her mouth. I was wondering when you'd stop by, she said, setting down her tea. You should thank me. I saved you from making a terrible mistake. You called Horizon and declined my job offer. My voice sounded strange, even to my own ears, tight and strained. That offer was insulting, Katherine. $78,000 for someone with your education and potential. The benefits package was substandard, and the commute would have exhausted you. She spoke matter-of-factly, as though discussing a mundane household decision. Besides, Jessica is better suited for that environment. She understands loyalty and working her way up properly. How did you even know about the offer? My hands were shaking uncontrollably now. Your email password hasn't changed much since college. Horizon 2023. Really, Katherine? A little obvious for someone who claims to be independent. The violation hit me in waves. She had accessed my personal email, read my private professional correspondence, and taken life-altering action without my knowledge or consent. You had no right, I whispered, then found my voice rising with each word. You had no right. Don't be dramatic. I've always handled these things for you. Remember that summer internship you thought was beneath you? You thanked me later for insisting you take it. This isn't an internship. This is my career, my life. I was shouting now, tears streaming down my face. Do you have any idea what you've done? They won't want me now. What company would hire someone whose mother interferes like this? She stood, straightening her cardigan with an air of finality. You'll thank me when you receive a proper offer reflecting your worth. Jessica has her interview with Horizon on Wednesday. At least one of my daughters understands the value of maternal guidance. I stormed out, her voice calling after me. You'll thank me later, Katherine. You always do. Back in my apartment, I slumped against the closed door and slid to the floor. The coffee puddle and broken mug remained where I had left them, a fitting metaphor for the shattered opportunity. My phone showed 5 missed calls from my mother already, but I couldn't bear to hear her voice. Instead, I called Mark back with trembling fingers. Mr. Donovan, I'm so sorry about the situation. My mother acted completely without my knowledge or consent. I very much want this position, and was planning to accept your generous offer today. His sigh conveyed volumes. Katherine, I understand family dynamics can be complicated, but this raises concerns. Our company culture emphasizes independence and professional boundaries. If personal issues are affecting your professional communications, now what might happen when you're representing our clients? This won't happen again. I promise desperately. I'm taking immediate steps to ensure my mother has no access to my professional life. I appreciate that, but we need to consider all factors. The finality in his tone made my stomach sink. I'll discuss this with the team and let you know our decision. After hanging up, I spent hours crafting the most important email of my life, a formal professional explanation to Mark and the HR team. I detailed the situation without making excuses, asserting my independence and commitment to maintaining professional boundaries. I attached reference letters from professors and previous employers who could vouch for my professionalism and included links to campaigns I had developed during my MBA program. While waiting for their response, my phone exploded with messages. From Jessica. Katherine, I'm so sorry about what Mom did. I didn't know until she mentioned my interview. Are you okay? 10 minutes later. She's saying this is a great opportunity for me to get my foot in the door at a prestigious company. I don't know what to do. From Dad. Your mother means well, sweetheart. She just wants what's best for both her girls. Can we talk about this calmly as a family? From Mom, a barrage of texts. You're overreacting as usual. I found 3 better positions you should apply for. When you calm down, you'll see I made the right call. Jessica needs this opportunity more than you do. I called Taylor barely coherent through my tears as I explained what happened. That controlling witch! Taylor exploded. Katherine, this is beyond inappropriate. It's sabotage. What if they don't reconsider my dream job, Taylor? Gone because my mother couldn't stand not controlling my life. Taylor's voice softened. This isn't the first time she's interfered, you know. Remember Derek from junior year? What about him? Derek and I had dated briefly, but he had suddenly become distant and eventually stopped contacting me altogether. He wrote you this incredibly romantic letter after your fight, but your mom intercepted it when she was dropping off groceries at your dorm. She told him you wanted space. I only know because he mentioned it to my roommate months later. The revelation knocked the wind from me. How many other opportunities, personal and professional, had disappeared because of my mother's interference? That night, I experienced my first full-blown panic attack. Hyperventilating on my bathroom floor, I felt my future slipping through my fingers. My phone dinged with an email notification from Lisa Patterson, HR Director at Horizon. Katherine, thank you for your email explaining the situation. We would appreciate if you could come to our office tomorrow at 10 a.m. to discuss this matter further. Regards, Lisa Patterson. No indication of their decision. No reassurance. Just an ominous meeting that could either salvage my career or confirm its derailment. The next morning, I arrived at Horizon's gleaming office building 30 minutes early, having barely slept. I wore my most professional outfit, a charcoal gray suit with subtle pinstripes, and applied extra makeup to hide the dark circles under my eyes. In the elevator, I rehearsed what I would say, desperate to convince them I was worth the risk, despite my complicated family situation. When the elevator doors opened to Horizon's reception area, my heart stopped. There, sitting primly on a leather sofa, were my mother and Jessica. My sister looked uncomfortable in a suit that was clearly new and slightly too formal for the setting. My mother stood immediately upon seeing me. Katherine, perfect timing. I was just telling Jessica that we should present a united front when— What are you doing here? I hissed, pulling her aside while the receptionist pretended not to notice our tense exchange. Jessica has her interview, and I thought we could sort out this misunderstanding together. I've prepared some talking points about appropriate compensation packages and advancement opportunities for both of you. Jessica shot me an apologetic look, mouthing, I'm sorry, behind our mother's back. This isn't a family negotiation, Mom. This is my career that you sabotaged. Please leave. Now, don't be ridiculous. I'm here to fix what you clearly can't handle yourself. Before I could respond, the receptionist called my name. Ms. Marshall, Mr. Donovan, and Ms. Patterson will see you now. I straightened my jacket and turned away from my mother. Do not follow me. Do not interfere. This is your last warning. The conference room felt impossibly large, with just Mark, Lisa, and me seated around one end of a long table. Mark's expression was unreadable as he gestured for me to sit. Lisa spoke first. Katherine, thank you for coming in. We wanted to address the situation directly rather than over email. I appreciate that opportunity, I replied, my voice steadier than I felt. I want to apologize again for the confusion and affirm that I never authorized anyone to decline your offer. Mark leaned forward. Katherine, your credentials are impressive, and you performed exceptionally well during the interview process. However, we have serious concerns about what happened. Understandably, I acknowledged. If I were in your position, I would have the same concerns. Can you help us understand how this occurred? And more importantly, how you would prevent similar situations in the future if we were to move forward with your employment? Lisa's tone was professional, but not unkind. I took a deep breath. My mother has a history of overstepping boundaries. She accessed my personal email without permission after guessing my password. I've already changed all my passwords will be using two-factor authentication moving forward, and have made it clear to her that any further interference will result in serious consequences for our relationship. For the next 20 minutes, I answered their questions honestly, neither making excuses for my mother nor downplaying the seriousness of the situation. I outlined concrete steps I had taken to secure my personal information and emphasized my commitment to maintaining professional boundaries. Finally, Mark and Lisa exchanged glances before Mark spoke. We appreciate your candor. After discussing this situation, we're prepared to offer you the position again with some conditions. Relief washed over me so intensely, I had to grip the table to stay upright. Thank you. I'm willing to accept any reasonable conditions. First, all company communications will be through a new email that only you will have access to. Second, we'll implement a 3-month probationary period with weekly check-ins with HR. Third, we'll need your assurance that family members won't be involved in your professional communications or decisions. The conditions were fair, but humiliating special monitoring because they couldn't trust my ability to maintain normal professional boundaries. Still, it was a second chance I desperately needed. I accept these conditions and appreciate your willingness to work through this unusual situation. As I left the conference room, I spotted my mother and Jessica still waiting in the reception area. Jessica stood immediately, her expression a mix of relief and concern. How did it go? She asked quietly. Before I could answer, our mother interjected. Did you fix things? Did you mention Jessica's qualifications? Jessica pulled me aside while our mother spoke to the receptionist. Katherine, I swear I didn't know what she did until yesterday. She told me she'd opened a door for me here and that you were pursuing other opportunities. I never would have gone along with this if I'd known the truth. Looking into my sister's eyes, I saw genuine distress. It's not your fault. She's been controlling both of us for years. We just handle it differently. She chose my major, my apartment, even approved my boyfriend, Jessica whispered. I thought it was normal until I saw how upset you were about this job situation. Our conversation was interrupted by our mother's return. Jessica's interview is in 15 minutes. Katherine, we should discuss strategy. No, Mom, there's nothing to discuss. I stood taller than I had in years. I've been offered the position again despite your interference, and I've accepted it. Her expression shifted from surprise to smug satisfaction. See, my involvement helped. They clearly recognized your value and improved their offer. They didn't improve anything. They added probationary conditions because they're concerned about my family dynamics affecting my work. The words came out sharper than I intended, loud enough that nearby staff glanced our way. Lower your voice, Katherine. We can discuss this at home. No, we can't. You don't get to sabotage my career and then pretend you did me a favor. You violated my privacy, undermined my autonomy, and nearly cost me an opportunity I worked incredibly hard to earn. I was protecting you from what independent success on my own terms, the chance to build a life that isn't micromanaged by you. My voice rose despite my efforts to remain composed, and using Jessica as a replacement when I wouldn't comply. That's manipulative even for you. The reception area had gone silent. Jessica stood beside me now, her hand on my arm, both supportive and cautioning. My mother's face hardened. If you insist on being ungrateful and making a scene, perhaps we should leave. Jessica, we're going home. To my surprise, Jessica didn't move. Actually, Mom, I'm withdrawing my application. I don't want a position that was meant for Katherine. The security guard approached clearly, having been signaled by the receptionist. Is everything all right here? No, I said firmly. My mother is leaving. She's not authorized to be on these premises regarding my employment. As security escorted her to the elevator, she called back, Don't come crying to me when this falls apart. You're on your own financially from now on. When she was gone, Jessica and I sat together in the now quiet reception area, both shaking slightly from the confrontation. I've never stood up to her like that, Jessica whispered. It felt terrifying and also right. I squeezed her hand. It gets easier with practice, and we can practice together from now on. My first weeks at Horizon were challenging in ways I hadn't anticipated. Though I had the position, I felt constant pressure to prove myself worthy of their reconsideration. I arrived early, stayed late, and took on additional projects to demonstrate my commitment. Each time I passed Mark or Lisa in the hallway, I wondered if they were questioning their decision to give me a second chance. Meanwhile, I took concrete steps to protect my independence. I changed the locks on my apartment, created entirely new email accounts with complex passwords, and updated all my security questions to information my mother wouldn't know. I blocked her number temporarily, needing space to process the betrayal, without her constant justifications and non-apologies. My father visited my apartment one evening after work looking older and more tired than I remembered. "Your mother means well, Katherine," he began with his usual refrain, but then surprised me by continuing. "But that doesn't make her actions right. I've enabled her behavior for too long, and I owe you an apology for that." As we talked over delivery pizza, he revealed aspects of my mother I had never considered. "Amanda's parents were incredibly controlling," he explained. "Her father decided everything from what she wore to who she could speak with at school. When she got pregnant with you, she vowed you would have better opportunities than she did. Somewhere along the way, she became what she had resented most." Understanding the roots of my mother's behavior didn't excuse it, but offered perspective I had lacked. "Why didn't you ever step in, Dad?" He stared into his glass of water. "It was easier not to. Each time I considered it, I told myself she just wanted the best for you girls. I convinced myself that her intentions justified her methods." He looked up, eyes watery. "I was wrong, and you both suffered for my weakness." That weekend, I attended my first therapy session, beginning the process of understanding the patterns that had defined my relationship with my mother and my own difficulty asserting boundaries. Dr. Levine helped me recognize that guilt was not a reliable compass for healthy relationships, and that setting boundaries wasn't selfish, but necessary. After 2 weeks of silence, I agreed to meet my mother at a neutral location, a coffee shop equidistant from our homes. She arrived carrying a shopping bag containing a designer handbag I had once admired in a store window. "A peace offering," she said, pushing it toward me. "I thought we could start fresh." "Mom, I don't need expensive gifts. I need you to respect my boundaries." She sipped her latte. "I've been thinking about what happened, and I can acknowledge that perhaps I should have discussed this situation with you before contacting Horizon." The non-apology was so typical that I almost laughed. "That's not nearly enough, Mom. You didn't make a small miscalculation. You deliberately violated my privacy, sabotaged my career opportunity, and tried to hand it to Jessica instead. I was trying to protect you. That company clearly doesn't value talent appropriately. And Jessica needs direction. She's not as naturally driven as you are." "Stop. This is exactly the problem. You believe you have the right to control both our lives because you think you know better than we do what we need." Her face hardened. "After everything I've sacrificed for you—" "I appreciate those sacrifices," I interrupted. "But they don't give you ownership of my life. I need you to understand something clearly if you want a relationship with me. Moving forward, things need to change fundamentally." I outlined my non-negotiable boundaries: no accessing my personal accounts, no contacting my workplace, no making decisions on my behalf. I also requested that we try family therapy together. "Therapy," she scoffed. "We don't need strangers analyzing our family dynamics." "This is my offer, Mom. Take it or leave it, but understand that leaving it means accepting a very limited relationship with me moving forward." She cycled through familiar tactics, guilt, anger, appeals to family loyalty, before finally recognizing the seriousness of my resolve. "Fine, one session. But I'm not promising anything beyond that." It was a small victory, but significant. For perhaps the first time, my mother had acknowledged, however reluctantly, that she couldn't simply impose her will on my life without consequences. 6 months later, I stood in front of the Horizon Media leadership team, presenting my marketing campaign for their newest client, a sustainable fashion brand looking to expand their digital footprint. The campaign had exceeded projected engagement metrics by 43%, and as I concluded my presentation, the room erupted in applause. Mark approached afterward smiling. Exceptional work, Katherine. The client is thrilled and the board has taken notice. We're promoting you to senior marketing strategist effective next month. My probationary period had ended 3 months earlier, with Lisa confirming that I had more than proven myself as a valuable team member. The whispers about my family situation had gradually faded as my work spoke for itself. Outside of work, progress was slower but steady. Our family therapy sessions with Dr. Bennett were challenging, often leaving us emotionally drained afterward. My mother initially approached therapy as a performance, presenting herself as the devoted matriarch misunderstood by her ungrateful daughters. But Dr. Bennett was skilled at gently but firmly redirecting her narratives. "Amanda," he would say, "I notice you often use phrases like, 'I just wanted what was best,' or 'I was protecting you.' Could we explore what it might look like to support Katherine and Jessica while respecting their autonomy to make their own choices?" Some sessions ended with my mother storming out. Others concluded with tentative breakthroughs. Progress wasn't linear, but it was happening. She began acknowledging in small ways how her control had damaged our relationship. "I was terrified you would make mistakes," she admitted during one particularly emotional session. "But I made the biggest mistake of all, by not trusting you to find your own path." I maintained firm boundaries while allowing her limited opportunities to rebuild trust. We scheduled weekly phone calls with clear time limits. She was welcome to offer advice when asked, but had to respect my decisions, even when they differed from her recommendations. Violations of these boundaries resulted in temporary distance until she could acknowledge the overstepping. Jessica made perhaps the most dramatic changes. After our confrontation at Horizon, she began questioning aspects of her life that had been directed by our mother. Within 2 months, she had transferred universities to pursue a degree in education, her true passion, despite our mother's vocal disapproval. "Teaching fourth grade might not make me rich," Jessica told me over lunch one Saturday. "But when I volunteer at the after-school program, I feel alive in a way I never did working at the insurance company." Watching my sister discover her own voice inspired me to further embrace mine. I reconnected with my artistic side, taking evening classes in graphic design that complemented my marketing career, while nourishing the creative spirit I had suppressed for years. The experience transformed me in ways I couldn't have anticipated. I became more discerning about relationships, recognizing red flags that signaled controlling behavior in friendships and romantic partnerships. I learned to trust my own judgment even when it contradicted conventional wisdom or invited criticism. Most importantly, I found my voice not just to set boundaries with my mother, but to advocate for myself in all areas of life. When a colleague attempted to take credit for my work on a project, I addressed it directly instead of silently accepting the injustice. When a friend repeatedly canceled plans at the last minute, I expressed how it affected me instead of pretending it didn't matter. Family relationships remain complex. My mother and I continue to navigate our new dynamic, sometimes successfully, sometimes with setbacks. I've come to understand that her controlling behavior, while harmful, stemmed from her own unresolved wounds and fears. This understanding doesn't excuse her actions, but helps me respond with compassion rather than just anger. My father and I have grown closer as he's taken responsibility for his enabling role and begun asserting himself more in his own life. Jessica and I text daily, supporting each other through the ongoing process of establishing independence while maintaining family connections. The most profound lesson from this experience wasn't about career success or even standing up to my mother. It was learning that you can love someone deeply while refusing to accept their harmful behavior. That independence isn't about cutting ties, but about writing your own story, even when others try to hold the pen. If you're watching this and recognizing patterns of control in your own relationships, please know that setting boundaries isn't selfish. It's necessary for healthy connections. The path to independence may be challenging, but the freedom to live authentically is worth every difficult conversation and temporary discomfort. Have you experienced controlling relationships in your life? How did you establish boundaries? Share your stories in the comments below. Your experience might help someone else find their voice. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to my channel for more stories about navigating complicated family dynamics and finding your authentic path. Thank you for listening to my journey, And remember, the first step to writing your own story is believing you have the right to hold the pen.